trees curb pollution. That's something we've all known. We know this because we've studied this in class 4. Trees, greenery, plants, they emit oxygen via photosynthesis. We also know that Delhi, India's capital, is the most polluted capital in the world, and it has been like that for some time now. So what is our government doing to tackle this problem, this crisis? Well, our government says it's doing a lot, but ironically at the same time it emerges that the government plans to cut about 16,000 trees in the capital over the next few days. That sounds incredulous, and yes, there are some people who find that incredulous, and they're out right now, they're protesting, they're up in arms. They are in Sarojini Nagar, which is in the capital. It is one of the areas that's likely to be the worst affected because they're planning to cut, the authorities are planning to cut at least 11,000 trees from this one region alone. Let's go across to Snigdha Basu, who's out there right now amongst these protesters. Snigdha, just give us the background of this entire story. Why exactly are these trees planned to be cut, and when is that going to happen?
Well, Sarah, you know, I come to you from Sarojini Nagar. Now, there are 7 different neighborhoods where this redevelopment will take place. Now, what is redevelopment? All these 7 regions, there are trees being cut to make space for offices, for flats, for government people, as well as other commercial activities. So all these 7 areas, a lot of these areas have already started work. So say East Kidwai Nagar, which is not part of the 7, it happened earlier, which is right opposite the AIMS building. That entire area was cleaned out, and now there is a huge building, a multi-story accommodation for office purpose. Sarojini Nagar is going to come up with a World Trade Center, Delhi's first World Trade Center. That entire area has been cleared out. Work has already started that side. We come to you from Sarojini Nagar. Now, we all know Sarojini Nagar is a lowly, dense, populated area. It has a lot of tree cover. The road, Africa Avenue Road, RK Puram area, all these areas are lowly packed areas, but with a lot of green cover. But all this green cover is going to go. Behind me is a huge big hoarding of the redevelopment of Sarojini Nagar that will happen, and it's not just going to be flats for government people, but also commercial space and office space. But behind me, these are people who are not just residents of the area, but who are activists, children who've come out here tonight, really holding a candle march, a sort of a candle sit-in here, who say that, look, don't cut our trees, let's redefine redevelopment. Why do we need more urbanization? And if there has to be urbanization, why can't we have a balance between urbanization and the environment? This afternoon, braving the scorching heat, we had many children who were right here at the spot. In this heat, they stood, they made, placards, and they had one message for the central government, which is actually the ministry that is responsible for all this. They had one message that we already are the most polluted city. Trees help us curb that pollution. Please don't cut our trees. But I have another guest with me, Ms. Juhi, who is an activist who is spearheading this entire movement really. Juhi, today is the 2nd consecutive night that you are here with people having a sit-in protest. Why and when will this Sarojini Nagar chopping happen? There are 11,000 trees that are expected to go down here.
Well, the environmental impact assessment report says 11,000. Even if the number is a little lesser, it will still be a gigantic number and a huge loss for the city of Delhi. As far as we understand, the forest department has not given clearance for felling Sarojini Nagar trees as yet, so we feel there might be some hope as yet. The DDA has not given land for compensatory afforestation. Before that land comes in, you cannot give permission for felling the trees. So we are waiting and watching, and also creating public pressure.
Sarah, just as we wrap up, just another point that, compensatory land is for some of these locations have been given as far as where the Wazirabad barrage is, which is about 30 kilometers away. So how will that really have any compensatory effect of culling down trees in this part of Delhi? Back to you.
All right, thanks Snigdha. Let's try and understand this further. We have in studio from the Congress, Ms. Mohammed Khan. We have Mr. Deshratan Nigam. He is an RSS supporter, also a senior lawyer. We have environmentalist Vehemently Jha. Thank you for joining us. And Raghav Chadha joining us also from the capital, from the Aam Aadmi Party. Vehemently, I want to start with you. Initially this was a problem we only faced in the winter. Now we're seeing horrific levels, hazardous levels of pollution even in the summer. So when you hear that our government, in the midst midst of all of this, is actually planning to cut trees. What is your reaction?
It's really, really bizarre. Imagine right now, last week is when our air quality monitors had crossed 999, as in it was beyond measure. That's how polluted we were. And then, so that's statistics 1, and statistics 2 is that 17,000 trees or 16,500 trees need to be compromised for redevelopment of Delhi. And it's the same government that's actually custodian in many, many ways. The reason why we arrive at 999 or air quality index of that degree is because the government hasn't done enough, and not just this government, every government for that matter. Last 4 years we've been getting that statistics, right? As in the Lancet report says that, what, 80 people die every day in Delhi because of air pollution issues. Rather than doing the needful, be it short term, medium term, long term, the government in a very, very active proposition is out there to build a World Trade Center. Now, you know, Babus need a house, everyone needs a World Trade Center, but what will you breed, for heaven's sake? Just last week we saw people choking and dying, and people are choking and dying every day. So I feel that, you know, it's a misplaced understanding of governance. It's a real estate mafia. Government has become an agent in many, many ways of real estate. For them, building is what is more important, living is not. And by the way, people, as in I was so agitated when the housing minister or the building minister, Mr. Puri, actually on Twitter said that these people who are protesting or are on the streets objecting to this entire thing are mischief mongers and are trolls. We are not trolls. Those children who are actually choking wearing a mask are not trolls asking for their right to breathe. And so this is very unfortunate, and I don't want to get into whether it's the Forest Department of Delhi or the central government. At the end of the day, the citizens of Delhi do not have a right to breathe, and this is despite the government. Government did not plant those trees. Government is cutting those trees. Government was not there 40 years ago. It's the citizens who put forth these 20,000 trees that we're talking about. It wasn't government's compensatory afforestation that government is taking that away from us as if they provided us. We created those trees. Government has no bloody right to take those trees away from us.
Well, those trees must have been planted by a government, not this government.
No, it's a neighborhood. In a neighborhood, government doesn't come and do a plantation. It's not a park that we're talking about. We're talking about housing colonies where if I'm living in a colony...
No, we're talking about trees that are lining the roads. Those must have been planted by a government, an MCD or whoever. But the point is, what you're saying is this government did not plant it. They should have no right to cut it. We need air to breathe. We can have beautiful homes to live in, but if we don't have air to breathe, where are we going to be? Raghav Chadha, please come in on this, because you are the government in Delhi. Now tell us, when the Forest Ministry gives clearance for this, they have to get clearance from various agencies. One of them includes the government. At that point of time, AAP cleared it. Now you're raising questions. But why did you not stand up and speak up then?
So first of all, this is a redevelopment project. And can you get the echo corrected, please? This is a redevelopment project by the MOEF, that is the Ministry of Environment and Forest of the central government. You are right that certain clearances are to be given from all tiers of government, the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and therefore a clearance was also sought from the government of Delhi. Our minister, Mr. Imran Hussain, who is the environment minister, categorically on file refused to give clearance and in fact vehemently opposed the raising or the chopping off of trees. Unfortunately, the competent authority is the Lieutenant Governor, and perhaps at his behest or he himself gave the permission or the clearance for raising of trees. In fact, we have raised this issue with the union government.
I just want to clarify that.
As I said, the Lieutenant Governor is the competent authority. The Lieutenant Governor has, we are given to understand that the Lieutenant Governor has, or his office has given the clearance, and apart from clearance from the Delhi government, there are clearances from the MCD, there are clearances from the MOEF, there are clearances from various departments of the central government.
So you gave clearance?
Well, as I said, the minister, the political executive, the minister vehemently opposed in writing on file the raising of trees for redevelopment project, but the Lieutenant Governor is a competent authority, and therefore we are given to understand that he has perhaps given his clearance. But on file, I mean, one can access that file by filing an RTI. He has vehemently opposed one, and therefore we are leading. We are leading the fight we are
from the state government. The law requires
as
the
I
state
said,
government to give a
I am saying
non-objection
this for the
certificate.
third time,
And you
that
do not,
Lieutenant Governor is the
pass the ball to
competent
the LG
authority
in
when
this
it
case
comes to
because
this.
you have an
And
environment
therefore
minister.
he has
His reports are
what I'm
submitted
trying
and
to
taken on
understand.
record.
But
So you
please
cannot
understand,
abdicate authority
in
here.
this entire segment, may I just finish? As it is, I have a bad line. May I just finish, please? There are different sets of agencies in place. The MCD, the Delhi government, several departments under the union government, and the nodal authority. The main authority is the Ministry of Environment and Forest of the union government, and therefore once we since this morning the union government has been facing a backlash, and they have in fact tried to put out a clarification saying that no, we'll resort to plantation, compensatory plantation, so on and so forth. So therefore, first of all, let us understand that the nodal authority or the main perpetrator of this
No, we
is
can
the
get to
union
that
government.
later,
One which
Raghav.
is
We
very
just
clear.
want to know,
Number
did
two,
Aam Aadmi Party
the
speak up
chopping
then?
off of
If you were overrode, if your minister said clearly in writing that they are against this, and there was the LG that overrode you, and the forest ministry gave clearance for this, why did you not speak up then and make it an issue? Why is AAP speaking up now? Anyway, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to come back to you.
We did.
Mohammed
And in
Khan,
fact, no. We have been speaking up all these days. In fact, we have been speaking up all these days about every single issue, and therefore this confrontation, and even on this aspect, and I am for the 100th time saying this on your show, that LG is the competent authority, but you also have to understand, you cannot shut your eyes and blame the Delhi government, because the Delhi government has no role in this. The only government that has some role in this is the union government, because that is the nodal authority. And you also must understand that the redevelopment project is led and championed by the union government.
That I agree. This is their idea, this is their baby, but they have to get clearances from various agencies. Did you cooperate at that point of time, and are you speaking up now is the point. Yes, we agree the centre is to blame. But Mohammed Khan, respond over one question Vimalendu raised. The point is, look, let's be realistic. It's not easy being in power. You've known it when you guys were in power.
Absolutely.
You have to provide homes.
Right, you do. And that's where the public trust doctrine comes in. Now, whenever you have to juggle issues of development versus environment, there's a guiding jurisprudential principle, public trust. These trees, any public good belongs to all of us, and the government is charged with the administration of that trust. Now, when that happens, we have 3 laws that laid down how the government must go about ensuring that this balance is struck. In this case, and I can tell you that Raghav is absolutely wrong. He can go to his own ministry's website, the Ministry of Forests of Delhi, and find out the responsibilities that the ministry have. One of which is to give no objection certificates for projects that are carried out in Delhi. This is an NCT. You cannot kick the can down to the LG in this case. Number 1. Number 2, here again, when projects of this magnitude are to be carried out, you have to have a detailed social impact assessment report prepared. In this case, the report that has been prepared is extremely superficial. When Vimalendu and I were talking outside, and with his permission, he showed me a report. Do you know the species diversity of the trees in this area? This is not 1 or 2 types of trees. There are 70+ types of trees
and
here in this area.
We're going to plant bougainvillea that's going to look pretty but not help with
Sara, do you know what happens when we cut these trees? You spoke about air quality. Absolutely correct. But water tables. We are grappling with a water crisis right now. And if the Aam Aadmi Party saw this indeed as a priority, the BJP doesn't see it as a priority. That's why they're attacking the people who are raising it. Environment has never been their priority since 2014. As soon as they came into power, they made it easier to cut trees. That lady spoke about compensatory afforestation mechanisms.
I want to go across.
May I remind everyone that that mechanism was unlocked by the UPA, where Mr. Harish Salve stood in the Supreme Court, credited Mr. Jairam Ramesh and said it is because of his efforts that this scheme is being launched. Finally, I want to say this. If a government is serious about the environment, it will make it a priority. You will find land, you will find alternatives.
Serious about the environment. Mr. Nigam, please come in over here. This has been a PR nightmare for the government, the central government. Please. The BJP has never been about the environment. Vimalendu says a misunderstanding of development, land grab, real estate mafia, development over the public. And then you have, as he pointed out, there's the minister who's been tweeting saying only about 11,000 trees are going to be cut.
See, let me tell you, I am not representing BJP.
No, you're not, but the RSS supports the BJP.
No, not the way that people think.
I'm asking you, has the government come out looking bad?
See, the fact remains.
And exposed.
Fact remains, you need to find a very fine balance between development and environment. And I was just telling my co-panelist about what Rigved says about it. It talks so eloquently about saving the environment and felling these 14,000 trees and not finding an alternative for them is a catastrophe. You know, I can agree that you have to build a World Trade Center, there is a requirement about it. But what about these trees which took about 100 years to grow? Hardy trees, varieties, you know, the variety of trees that you see.
People and neem
and we have the technical know-how to uproot these trees and to place them somewhere else.
But why aren't you having that conversation, sir, with
the
people in power?
The fact remains, the left hand seems to be not knowing what the right hand is doing. You are developing the entire Yamuna project, the banks you are developing. You could have used these trees and lined all these, taken out these trees and lined the entire Yamuna
So you admit that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing in the government, but is it intentional? Is it intentional, as Vimlendu says, this is real estate mafia development over everything else? They are aware of what they are doing, but they are still going ahead?
No, it is not intentional, and I believe they should wake up right now, and instead of cutting these trees, they should uproot it and place them somewhere else, and at the same time, don't do that cosmetic planting which I believe a lot of departments do, placing palm trees and saying we have planted so many trees. Instead, you should use the very same varieties, saplings of very same varieties, 1 for 20 saplings for one.
No, but how many saplings of them are going to grow? Where's the water to even plant if we don't have water? People are fighting over water. How are we going to water these plants?
Therefore, you have developed a ratio of 1. If you fell one tree, you plant 20, 25. I don't know the exact number.
10 is what you have to do.
So what I'm saying more than that. In fact, if you have
can't even do the 10.
So you need to find a balance. At least these trees need to be saved.
But can we
call
my only
Sorry, we are out of time. The point, I think Vimlendu gets the last word. Sure, we need development, sure we need homes, but first we need air to breathe, because without that we're not going to exist. Thank you so much. Let's keep the pressure up on this government, on our state government, on our central government. We need to make sure that we can live. The city is livable. Thank you for joining us on the 9 o'clock news. Bye-bye.